environment for our teaching staffs and our children. We are proud as a consequence that for the first time we are almost hitting over 90% in terms of providing tap water in all these schools. These mattresses will find their way into schools, especially newly constructed boarding houses, providing a positive impact on the living of our most vulnerable girl child in Pemba constituency. Your donation will not only improve the pass rate in the schools, but it will also reduce teenage pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases. You may wish to know that our girl child have been squatting in the houses nearby, sleeping on the floor. This has made it very difficult for them to concentrate in school when they go for classes.
Mr. Hamata further explained that the new dormitories were built using Constituency Development Fund to help the pupils stay in conducive environments during their time in school. He also expressed gratitude for the support and commitment by Form King manufacturers to the people of Pemba.
I extend my sincere appreciation to Form King, our indigenous company, for your generosity and commitment to improving the lives of our people. I wish to extend further my gratitude to the European government, led by His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for creating an enabling environment that allows us as leaders to partner with our corporate partners in bringing development and helping our people, especially our children. The UPND-led government is most grateful, Chief Executive Director, for the gesture which you have actually shown to our people.
Speaking earlier at the same function, Form King Manufacturers Limited Chief Executive Officer Praveen Patel says the company wants to help communities that are in need.
If we don't help each other, we will not see the progress that we are looking for. We have got to set aside visions. Now, when I say all these things, I sound like a politician, but I am not. But what I envy is somebody who is doing something for the community. And that is what I envy. And if Form King can help in any way, little,
today's special program, and this is the Auditors General and You program. My name is Paul Ndovi. Today we look at the critical role of the audit process within the Office of the Auditor General as we explore how rigorous auditing practice ensure transparency, accountability, and the effective use of public resources. My guest on today's program, I do have Mrs. Kashweka Chabaya, who is Assistant Director, Ministerial Appropriation Audits Directorate. Thank you so much for coming through. And how is the Office of the Auditor General?
Thank you so much, Posent. The Office of the Auditor General is okay. Right now we are busy finalizing the report so that it's ready by September, when it's supposed to be released to the public.
The famous report. We're looking forward to that.
Yes.
All right. Also joining us on this platform, we do have Miss Miriam Bukolo, who is Assistant Director, Public Data and Investments Audit Directorate. Thank you so much for joining us. How is the office, and have you been?
I've been okay, thank you. The office is okay, though busy. Like my colleague has said, we're preparing the Auditor General's report, so it's taking up most of our time.
Okay.
Yes.
And my sign language interpreter for today is Jason Manda, and today we look at the audit process. Like I mentioned, my name is Paul Sentin. I would like to say thank you so much for all of you that are joining us both on television and radio. Maybe let me start with Madam Chibaya. What do you do, and what does your job entail as Assistant Director and Ministerial Appropriation Audit Directorate?
Thank you once again. Ministerial Audit Directorate is the directorate that is responsible for the audit of all government ministries, in short, central government. So it is divided in 3 sections, and one of the sections, which is the section that I'm heading, is the Defense and Commissions. And this section is the one that is responsible for the audit of all defense wings and all the commissions. So we have commissions like the Teaching Service Commission, Civil Service Commission, all those fall under this section. And also we have the defense wings, Ministry of Defense, Zambia Air Force, Zambia Army, Zambia Police, all those are under my section.
Okay.
So basically my role is to make sure that the audits are conducted, monitor the auditors on the ground, provide the necessary supervision and guidance, and until the report is finalized for final publishing in the Auditor General's report for every year.
It sounds like it's a lot of work, very involving, I guess.
Yes, it is.
All right, and also let me turn to Ms. Wokolo. What does your job entail, being Assistant Director, Public Data and Investments under the Audits Directorate? Okay,
thank you so much. Under Public Data and Investments, there are 2 sections. There's one section that is in charge of parastatals and statutory bodies, and I'm in charge of the department that is in charge of projects and public investments. So we audit investments such as ZCCMIH and companies falling under the IDC group of companies. Then we also audit projects such as the Global Fund, COVID projects, all those fall under my department.
Okay. All right. What is the primary objective of the Office of the Auditor General in Zambia?
Okay. The primary role of the Office of the Auditor General is to provide audit services to ministries, provinces, agencies, and any other institutions that receive funding from government. And in doing so, we draw our mandate from the Constitution under Article 250.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, maybe can you just run through for the viewers and the listeners out there the stages that are involved in that process, the audit process?
Okay, I think my colleague can.
Okay. The audit process is quite engaging, actually. There's a lot of engagement that is done that goes on between the auditors and the auditee. So the process starts with the issuance of an engagement letter. The Auditor General will issue an engagement letter to the auditee, and the engagement letter will outline the objectives of the audit, the scope of the audit, the responsibilities of the auditor, the responsibilities of management, and also the period that it is going to take for that audit to be conducted. And after we have the engagement letter issued to the auditee, the next stage is for us to have an entry meeting.
Okay.
So during the entry meeting, we basically discuss briefly the engagement letter itself, and also we introduce the team that is going to conduct the audit. And these meetings are usually minuted. After the entry meeting, the next stage will be for us to start the audit, and during the audit, we issue preliminary queries. So the preliminary queries are issued during the process of the audit to provide an opportunity to the auditee to provide responses to some of the queries that we might have. And we usually give a maximum of about, according to the office policy, we give a maximum of about 10 days for the auditee to respond to these preliminary queries. So after the preliminary queries are responded to, some of the queries will be resolved at that stage, but there will be some queries which will not be resolved at that stage if the responses that have been provided are not satisfactory.
Okay.
And those queries that will remain outstanding at the preliminary stage are the ones that are graduated into the interim management letter. So the interim management letter will be issued to the auditee, and will give them a total of 15 working days in which 15 calendar days, in which for them to respond. After they've responded, again, the team will go back on the ground to conduct a verification. The team will look at the documentation, the evidence that may be provided by the auditee. And after that verification, we prepare a status report, what we call a status report.
Okay.
So the status report is going to show the details of the query that was raised in the interim management letter, what the response the management has provided, and the status. The status will indicate if a query has been closed at that stage, will indicate the reason why it's been closed, and if it is still outstanding, will also indicate the reason why it is still outstanding.
Okay.
So after the issuance of the status report, whatever will remain outstanding in the status report is now graduated to the draft audit reference paragraph, which is basically a reflection of what would be presented in the Auditor General's report.
Okay.
And at that stage, we write to the auditee for them to confirm whether what is appearing in the draft audit reference paragraph is actually correct and accurate. After that stage of confirmation, the next stage will be the final report. However, before the final report is issued at the stage of the draft audit reference paragraph, there's still an opportunity to conduct verification if the auditee feels that there might be additional information that they would want to provide in response to what has been indicated as a draft audit reference paragraph.
So what are some of the challenges that you face looking at these stages that you undertake as the Office of the Auditor General?
Okay, I think basically in the audit process, I think the main challenge is provision of information. When we are on the ground, it takes a bit of time to have information when the auditors have requested.
Okay.
Yes.
Are these institutions that you audit cooperative?
Yes, they are. They are cooperative, but sometimes certain situations might make it difficult for them probably to provide certain information. But most of the time, I think we've had the necessary cooperation that we would want.
Is there any stipulated period that those stages are supposed to be undertaken? I know you talked about 10 days and 15 work calendar days. Yeah. What is the duration for it to be concluded, for you to come up with a final report?
Well, Miriam, would you like to take that?
Okay, normally when we do the engagement letter, we set out the specific time frames in which the audit will be done.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Maybe I turn to you, Miriam. Now, how does your office prioritize which audit to conduct each year? I know we've got different
yes.
audit reports. Yeah.
So I'll start by saying that we normally conduct a risk assessment. The office has got a database of its clients according to departments. So what will happen is each department will do a risk assessment of their clients, and there are certain factors that we consider as we are doing this risk assessment. We'll look at the budgetary allocations, how much have they received. We'll look at prior year audit, were there serious issues. We'll look at has there been a risk of fraud, has there been negative publicity. So based on these factors, we rank our clients, and based on the ranking, those clients which are score high in terms of risk, we prioritize them, then which will be followed by medium to low. And based on that, we'll prepare a work plan that we're going to use to audit.
Okay.
Yes.
Mrs. Chara, she's talked about risk assessment. Now maybe the question would be, what role do risk assessment play in the audit planning process?
Okay, so the process of assessing risk helps us to determine which audit is will be ranked to be of high risk because we categorize them in different stages. the ones that we would categorize as high risk and medium risk and also low risk. So at the stage when we are planning, we consider which one of our auditees is high risk, so that we apportion more resources to such auditees. And those that we consider to be low risk are the ones that would also classify to be conducted, to be audited probably towards the end of the audit period. Bearing in mind that when we are auditing, the main objective is for us to express an opinion on the financial statements. And according to the Constitution, the deadline for us to certify all the financial statements for central government is 31st May of every year.
Okay.
So when we are doing the risk assessment, we also need, it will help us plan which audits we consider to be the highest risk and should be audited at the beginning of the year, so that we have ample time to complete them by the time we are certifying the accounts by 31st May.
Okay. Maybe a layman may not understand. Would you be in a position maybe just to share with our viewers and our listeners some of the risks that you assess, just to make somebody understand who's out there?
Okay.
Maybe you can pick an example of company X.
An example of institution X?
Yes.
Okay, so for example, we have institutions that have a lot of projects that they are undertaking. So we will always look at the risk of those projects being completed in time in order for them to, as you are aware, most of the expenditure for central government is to provide a service to the public. So we always consider the risk of those projects being completed on time, so that they benefit the citizenry. And we'll also look at, according to the Appropriation Act, the risk that what has been appropriated by Parliament is applied according to the Appropriation Act. So those are some of the risks that we'll always consider. We also have risks related to payroll issues. Government spends a lot of money on payroll for the civil service, and there are certain risks that are related to the payroll. So all those are some of the risks that we will take into consideration as we are planning for the audits.
Does it mean that having enough money in constituencies, by this I mean CDF, we know that local authorities now have been empowered to disburse constituency development fund. Does that mean that you have more work as your office?
Yes, it does. I think you are aware that when my colleague was explaining about how we do the risk profiling, we take into consideration the fact that the amount of money that has gone to a particular institution. And in this case, because we know that there's a lot of money that is being spent on CDF, of course, we know that the risk increases because of the amounts of money that they are being exposed to, and also it increases our work.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking at the scope of work that your office is engaged in, it seems like it's a huge responsibility. But maybe you can share with us, do you have enough human resource to undertake these vigorous assignments that you have placed on your tables?
Maybe I can pick that one. I think in terms of staff, we have adequate staff. And then in areas where we don't have staff, the Constitution allows us to subcontract. So we engage private auditors to help us. But in doing so, they still report to us as to how the work is being carried out.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Maybe I get back to Mrs. Chawa. What audit methodologies and standards does your office adhere to?
Okay. The Office of the Auditor General is a supreme audit institution, the supreme audit institution in Zambia. Okay. And as a supreme audit institution, the office belongs to organizations which provide, let me say, guidance on how public institutions should be audited. So one of the institutions one of the organizations that we belong to is the International Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions, INTOSAI. So this body develops audit standards for the audit of public institutions, and The international standards of supreme audit institutions are the standards that are developed by Intosai. So according to Intosai, the standards that sorry about that. The standards that that have been developed in different categories. So we have standards that we follow for financial audits, and we also have standards that we follow for compliance audits and performance audits.
Okay.
And in terms of methodologies, we also have methodologies according to the type of audit. So for financial audits, we have what we call financial audit methodology, which is which gives us guidance on how to conduct the entire audit from planning, execution up to reporting. And we also have methodology for compliance audits, which is called the compliance audit methodology, and finally for performance audits.
Okay.
All these methodologies have been developed in line with the ISIs, which have been developed by the Intosai.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. This is an interesting program where we're looking at the audit process, and it is the Auditors General and You program. My guest on the program, I do have Mrs. Chavaya, Kashweka Chavaya, who is Assistant Director, Ministerial Appropriation Audits Directorate. I also have Ms. Miriam Bukolo, who is Assistant Director, Public Data and Investments Audits Directorate. We are also live on our Facebook page. What you can do is just like our Facebook page. That's the National Assembly of Zambia. Let us know where you're watching us from. If you have any question or contribution, feel free. I'll be able to read your concern as we look at very interesting process. I know you do follow Parliament television and radio when there is that auditor's report, and a number of CEOs and institutions are being put to task to explain what really went wrong and how did they spend the revenue that was apportioned to that organization or institution. So today we just want to take you through what this audit process is all about. Let me move on, maybe still on Mrs. Chavaya. Can you describe the process of gathering and analyzing evidence during an audit? I know earlier on she did talk about how it's done and the process that are undertaken.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for gathering and analyzing evidence, we have different methodologies, and one of the methodologies is an inquiry. When we are on the ground as auditors, we make inquiries with the auditee, because the auditee is better placed to have the information that we need. And we also conduct interviews, and in the process of the interviews, we are able to gather the information that we need. And in audit, we also have what we call analytical procedures, where we do an analysis of a certain trend that is expected, and we are able to get results from that. And depending also on the information that we are looking at, we also do external confirmations. For example, if we need information, we have information from the auditee that is relating to another institution within the central government, we are able to write to the external institution so that they are able to provide confirmation on that information.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, we also look at documentation at the institution itself, and we review the documentation which is able to give us the information that we may need. I'm sure you are aware, President, that we have computerized systems in some of these institutions, including government itself. So for data analytics, we have a department under the office which helps with analyzing data, so that we are able to also get enough evidence on anything that is related to IT.
Okay. There is a perception from a layman out there. They think that you just ambush these institutions, but thank God you've highlighted the stages that are undertaken before you conduct an audit of any firm. But don't you think you inform them requesting
Yes.
if you can conduct an audit.
Yes.
Don't you think this will make them prepare themselves or run away from anomalies that they've committed?
Well, according to the international standards of supreme audit institutions, these processes were introduced to avoid the exact thing that you are saying, that the auditors felt that they were being ambushed. The idea is not to ambush, but for us to provide oversight. So in informing them that we are coming on the ground, it's not necessarily to prepare them to run away, but to prepare them so that they have in ample time to prepare all the relevant information that we need to work with, so that we avoid a situation where we end up spending more time on an audit because probably they didn't have enough time to prepare. But I'm sure even when we give them all these notices, we still have situations where certain information is still not provided. So
would you be in a position, maybe you or Miriam may be able to just share with our viewers and our listeners, maybe your most memorable experience when you went to an organization and maybe you found things not in place, and the issue of also maybe to some level, to some extent, corruption as well. We've heard some people trying to bribe officers and stuff just to get away from being exposed.
Okay, I think I'll share on that one. I had an experience where we informed the client that we are coming to audit. We went to the institution, we met the top management, but after the meeting, the person who was in charge of accounts disappeared. He said, no, I'm just coming, I'm going to buy water, and that was the end. So we are there from 8 hours, we're waiting, because he's only supposed to give us documentation. And this person is nowhere to be seen until we were knocking off. The following day we went there, he was nowhere to be found. They tried following him home, he couldn't be found. But that didn't stop us from auditing. We used other methods of auditing, and apparently we found that he had misappropriated a huge sum of money.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. And I'm sure these are very technical subjects that we're having. I'm sure we need really to break it down for our viewers and our listeners to appreciate and understand. Now, how do you always make sure that your audits are both thorough and efficient?
Okay. Thank you so much. In doing our audit, we use the risk-based methodology. And under this methodology, we direct our resources to those areas that are of high risk. Areas such as the procurement of drugs, procurement of, what else can I give, of other procurements. Mostly it's procurement of drugs, it's high risk.
There's also now fertilizer.
Yes, fertilizer, we can talk about that. We can talk about the procurement of maize also. Those are high risk, and so we direct our resources towards those areas that we feel are of high risk too. Okay. Yeah.
All right. This is the Auditors General and You program, and today we are looking at the audit process. Feel free to engage us if you want to be part and parcel of today's presentation. Go to our Facebook page, like that page. That's the National Assembly of Zambia. Let us know where you're watching us from, and you can forward your concern there. Then, what is the process of drafting and finalizing an audit report? Earlier on, you gave us the stages. I'm sure we are now trying to look at the reporting and the follow-up.
Okay. So in terms of the stages of finalizing the audit report, basically the process starts from the issuance of the preliminary queries, because the preliminary query is basically a reflection of the final report. And from the preliminary queries, we have the interim management letter, which you issued, which I had earlier alluded to, where we give a response period of 15 calendar days. And of course, it is followed by the status report, which we issue after we have done a verification on the interim management letter.
Okay. No.
Yeah, so after the status report, that's when we have the final, which is the draft audit reference paragraph, a reflection of the paragraph that will appear in the final Auditor General's report. After the Auditor General's report is issued, I'm sure you're aware that we also have the committees that sit to to deliberate on the issues that were reported in the Auditor General's report. And after the committee's sittings, there's a report also that is prepared for the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, where we have the audit queries and the submissions by the respective controlling officers and the recommendation of the committee.
Okay.
So after that report is produced, there's another verification that we also conduct, so that we verify that what the controlling officer submitted and what the Parliamentary Accounts Committee recommended has actually been implemented.
Okay. Then how do you communicate your findings to your stakeholders and the general public?
Okay, as we do this normally through the publication of the reports, the various reports. We've got the main report, which is on central government. We've got parastatal report. We've got the CDF report and the local authorities report.
Okay.
So once these reports are completed, they are tabled before Parliament. And once they are tabled before Parliament, they become public documents.
Okay.
And members of the public can access them through the internet or through the acquisition of the hard copies themselves. And then we just don't stop there. We've been engaging our various stakeholders, one of which being the members of Parliament. Once the report is produced and tabled before Parliament, we normally hold workshop with our various stakeholders to walk them through the findings, for them to appreciate the whole report, such that when they go to Parliament to deliberate in the committees, they have a full understanding of the report. And the office has also gone further to have these reports simplified, so that the common person on the street is able to understand them through the use of cartoons.
Okay.
Yes.
Year in, year out, we've heard in the media, social media, people saying that before the report is being issued or communicated to the stakeholders and the general public, that it first goes to the head of state. How true is it?
Well, according to Article 212 of the Constitution, after the report is issued in September, which is 9 months after the beginning of the financial year, it is presented to the President, then after which it will be tabled in Parliament. That is the process.
Okay.
Yes, that is supposed to be followed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We do have somebody on our Facebook page. I'll be able to get to that. Let me just see who is following us this morning on the National Assembly Facebook page. Feel free to send us a question or contribution that you will have if you want to be part and parcel of today's presentation as we look at the audit process. My guest on today's program, I do have Mrs. Kashweka Chabaya, Assistant Director, Ministerial Appropriation Audits Directorate, and I also have Ms. Miriam Wukolo, Assistant Director, Public Debt and Investments under the Audit Directorate. And like I mentioned earlier on, we're looking at the audit report, and just from looking at the reporting and follow-up, maybe we can move on to the main challenges that your office face in carrying out these audits.
Okay. One of the challenges that the office faces is, like earlier alluded to, is lack of provision of information on a timely basis. This affects the way our audits are conducted. You find that probably you've been engaging this client to provide you information and they're not doing so. So because even when they don't respond, we still write to them to say, you haven't responded and we're taking it to the next stage. Okay. So you find probably at the end that now you're supposed to produce the report. That's when someone is bringing the evidence for you to confirm. Okay. So you find that there will be delays. And apart from that, you find that some agencies are still using manual systems. And you really have to go through the pages page by page. Okay. Unlike when you're using a system, it's easier for you. So you find that you take a lot of time due to manual systems. An example being the CDF accounts. Those are done manually. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me get back to Mr. Chabaya. What mechanisms are in place for follow-up on audit recommendations?
The recommendations that we make at the interim management data stage are followed up at the stage that we are conducting our verifications. So when we are conducting the verifications, we are not just looking at the evidence that has been provided, recommendations that we may have implemented, whether they've been implemented. Is to again conduct a verification to check whether those recommendations that the parliamentarians made have been implemented.
Okay. All right.
Maybe that we do is after the sittings have taken place, to focus on. That will be our starting point to say what action has been taken, and we'll give a status based on that.
No, okay.
Yes.
Now, how does you address issues of capacity and resource constraints? I know we briefly talked about it earlier on, and I talked about the numbers and looking at your mandate as an office.
Yes. As you may be aware, Office of the Auditor General is part of government. So we get our resources from the Ministry of Finance. So there have been cases where we want to do something and we don't have adequate funds. We've engaged them, and in some cases they've provided funds. And then also, in terms of human resource, I think we have adequate, but where we do outside the office.
No, okay.
Yes.
Maybe we get to the strategies that you've put in place to make sure that you improve the audit process and its impact. I know everything lies on the audit. That's only when we have transparency and develop our country.
Okay, so as an office, we've automated the work papers. They're in the system, so it's easy for me and Chaba to sit down from our office and be able to review the work of our auditors. Apart from that, we've got a manual based on latest auditing standards.
Okay.
So whether you're auditing in SAP, we still use
Is doing well when it comes to your work.
I think South Africa is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Why is South Africa better than Zambia? What are things that we're not doing as a country?
Okay, I think for one thing that I've learned from them is that like the way I am as assistant director, I'll be evaluated based on the recommendations that have been acted upon by the institutions that I'm auditing.
Okay.
So if I'm going to audit National Assembly and whatever recommendations I've made have been acted upon, I'll be appraised based on those ones.
Okay.
I think that is a very good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
So why are we not, maybe Madam Chair, why are we not implementing what, I know it's beyond you.
Yes.
You make recommendations, but it's up to the external
Yes.
to implement whatever you recommend. But how best can we actualize this and be a beacon in the region?
Well,
I know it's not an easy question, but I'm sure the viewers would want to know why and how we can better our standing in the region.
in the region. Okay, I think apart from the issue of what my colleague has mentioned about being assessed based on which recommendations which our neighbors have implemented. Probably, I think also if we invested further into our audit, in the improvement of our audit methodologies, and of course the issue of financial constraint, because in terms of equipment, the tools that the auditors need to use, we have a bit of a challenge there, and if we could improve on that, I think, and also expose our auditors more to what is prevailing in the other places. I think that will help us also raise to a level where we can be able to be almost on the same level with other size.
All right. I do have Kunda Chisala on our Facebook page. That's the National Assembly of Zambia, and he's got a question, and he's saying, how do you work? Do you work in collaboration with the Parliamentary Accounts Committee of the National Assembly of Zambia? I'm sure you briefly talked about this. Maybe you'd want to respond and just break it down how you collaborate with the National Assembly of Zambia, in particular the Accounts Committee.
Okay. So the Parliamentary Accounts Committee provide oversight. In the audit triangle, the auditors are the ones that are able to check on what the executive has implemented after the approval of the budgets. So our work ends on reporting what our findings are, and the Parliamentary Accounts Committee come on board to make the responsible controlling officers answerable for the issues that may have been raised in the Auditor General's report, and hence make recommendations of what measures should be instituted following our report.
Okay.
So our relationship with Parliament is a relationship of Parliament being the representative of the people, and the Office of the Auditor General being the institution that is mandated to check on how what Parliament had approved in the Appropriation Act has been implemented.
Okay. All right. Earlier on, you did talk about you make recommendations, and it's up to that institution to act on those recommendations. What happens in a situation whereby you've made these serious recommendations and they don't act upon? What is the procedure like if the institution does not act upon the recommendations that you've issued?
Well, I'll refer you to the Public Finance Management Act, number 1 of 2018. It outlines if there's any disciplinary action that is supposed to be taken against an institution that has been cited in the Auditor General's report, and there are provisions in the Act where disciplinary action should be taken maybe by the Secretary to Treasury or by another senior government official.
Okay. All right. We do have another question, quite a lengthy one, and it's coming from Hayondo Hamweha. He's saying, I'm keenly following the program from Simwami Primary School. It's very helpful. I'm asking the Auditor General's Office to extend sensitization to the Ministry of Education, more especially community schools and primary teachers management. Most of the officers don't understand the audit process. And he went on saying they think audit is about fault finding. Maybe you can that's our follower there, all the way from Simwami Primary School. I don't know where exactly this is. In Zambia district, actually, okay, in Southern Province. Yeah, a call there, sensitization programs to make sure that more especially in the Ministry of Education, teachers are educated and appreciate what this, and others they think that it's just about fault finding, and more especially when they come here at parliamentary committees being squeezed, people think that that's your job. Any plans to extend sensitization? I know this is one of the platforms that you are using, but going into schools and share the information, more especially to the young ones.
Okay. I'm not aware of any immediate plans, but I'm very sure our Public Relations Office should be able to come up with some programs which can help in increasing the sensitization. But apart from these programs that we are conducting, we also encourage our viewers to take advantage of the agriculture shows, because during the agriculture shows we're always there to provide information to the public.
Even these district agriculture shows, you are there as the Office of the Auditor General?
In the districts, we haven't reached the districts yet, But at provincial level,
Okay.
we are there at the agriculture show, we are there at the International Trade Fair, and the Public Service Day, Africa Public Service Day. So during the Africa Public Service Day, we always also have a desk where we are explaining the work of the Auditor General to the public.
Okay.
So we would encourage the public to take an interest during these public events, to pass through our office, and they'll be able to gain an understanding of what the office is doing. And during these public events, we also have literature that we distribute to the public.
Okay.
Yes, for them to
Miriam?
to understand more.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to add that in this day of social media, we're also on Facebook. People can follow us. We provide some insights there as well.
You need to know the page. This is a golden platform that you can
It's Office of the Auditor General Zambia.
Okay, so there you have it. So it's the Office of the Auditor General Zambia. Like that Facebook page. Before you do that, also like the National Assembly of Zambia page, and you'll be able to know more about the services that are being rendered by the Office of the Auditor General. Maybe let's look at, because this question takes me to interaction, and we've briefly talked about interaction with your various stakeholders. Now, how does your office interact with the audited entities during the audit process? Should be fine. I'm sure it must be fine when interacting with checking their books, checking their computers.
Yes, like you said, audit is interactive. I need to understand the systems. I'll ask the clients to walk me through. I'll issue queries on the things that I want to get a formal representation. So it's interactive.
Okay.
We write to them, we talk to them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they quickly respond, and they're very
like I said,
cooperative.
I said earlier on, there are challenges. Sometimes they respond within the given time frame. Sometimes they don't, and the audit ends up being delayed.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sure there are quite a number of challenges that you face. Earlier on, we talked about the challenges, and at times there are disagreements, disputes with the audited firms. But how do you handle such issues where there's some disagreement, where this institution X is saying, no, this is not that, this is this is what?
Our audit is evidence-based, so normally we have their disagreements. We ask them to provide us with the evidence, we review it, and if we feel it's sufficient, we will drop the query based on that. If it's not, we'll still guide them to say, this is what we want on this query.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and again, we have Kunda Chisala. He's back again, saying earlier on you mentioned of an officer who disappeared before providing information to you, and are you mandated to discipline such officers, or you just end up at auditing? Very, very interesting question there.
So we're not mandated to discipline these officers. So normally the individual clients will follow up their internal policies.
Okay.
And then if it hinges on fraud, obviously you have to engage the necessary wings.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, how does your office engage with the public and other stakeholders to enhance transparency?
Okay, so in terms of engagement with the public and other stakeholders, like we had indicated earlier, it's mainly through the use of programs like this one, and also through the public service events which I mentioned about, the agriculture show where we'll explain what the Auditor General is doing, and also the public relations section also sometimes engages directly with stakeholders like the CSOs, so that when the report is out, they're able to walk through with our public relations office, and they're able to get whatever clarifications that they may have concerning the issues that may be raised in the Auditor General's report.
Okay. I think clarity. Do institutions, maybe international institutions that are donor-driven, are they mandated to be audited by your firm?
our mandate is on institutions that are benefiting from public funds.
Okay.
So those institutions that you're mentioning, I'm sure they will have their own private auditors.
Okay.
Our mandate is restricted to any institution that is benefiting from public funds.
Okay. All right. Feel free to get in touch with us on our Facebook page, the National Assembly of Zambia. Like that page, and let's hear what message you'd want to convey. And I do have Mrs. Kashweka Chabaya, who is Assistant Director, Ministerial Appropriation Audits Directorate. I also have Ms. Miriam Wukolo, who is Assistant Director, Public Data and Investments Audit Directorate. Today, we are looking at the audit process. We're just breaking it down to make it easier for you to understand. Now, maybe as we nearing conclusion on this interesting program, I would like to find out how do you ensure compliance with international auditing standards and best practice?
Okay, I'll get that one. The office has a quality assurance unit, which is in charge of ensuring that we adhere to principles, policies, and auditing standards. So what happens is this department reviews the work of the various audit departments.
Okay.
So they want to make sure that we are doing the audits according to these standards. So at the end of this review, they will do a report which will highlight any weaknesses that have been observed, and they'll make recommendations upon which we're supposed to act on. Then apart from that, like I think we had mentioned earlier on, we belong to these Supreme Audit organizations. One of them being AFROSAI, which is African Organization for Supreme Audit Institutions.
Okay.
They also do reviews of their member countries. They will review the works to ensure that they're done according to the standards. And if there are any issues that are not adhered to, they'll bring them out and make recommendations.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, interesting. Now, what ethical considerations guide the work of your office?
Okay, like my colleague had said earlier on, we adhere to ISIs, which are the international standards for supreme audit institutions, and one of them being ISI 130, which requires that we comply to ethical standards.
Okay.
So in doing so, the office has implemented this through its core values, which are objectivity, integrity, confidentiality, teamwork, and professionalism. And apart from that, the office also has an integrity committee that deals with issues of ethics, and where there is non-compliance to the ethical standards, they will take action upon these issues.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we've come to the end of today's program, but before we leave, a recap, maybe what could be your concluding remarks regarding today's interesting topic. We're looking at the audit process.
Okay, so like the perception that is there that we are fault finders. No, we're not fault finders. We provide an oversight role to ensure that public resources are used for the intended purposes.
Okay.
Yes, for the common good, for the good of the Zambian people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chabaya, your concluding remarks on this interesting topic? I've learned quite a lot today.
Well, in conclusion, I would like to encourage the public to get involved in because when we are conducting the audit, it's for the benefit of the public, because we are providing oversight over public funds, and these public funds are appropriated to provide services to the public. So the public are also encouraged to get involved, get interested in the Auditor General's report, so that when certain queries are cited, sometimes the public might have information that they can provide, which might be of help to us. And the office actually has a toll-free line, which they can use to give us such information which can help in our work. so that we make further follow-ups.
Okay. All right. I must say thank you so much for finding time just to come and highlight quite a number of issues here regarding the audit process. I must say thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
All right. There you have it. Those are my two guests. That is Mrs. Kashweka Chabaya, who is Assistant Director, Ministerial Appropriation Audits Directorate, and also had Mrs. Miriam Wukolo, who is Assistant Director, Public Data and Investments, and the Audits Directorate. And I also should acknowledge the people that have been with us on our Facebook page. That's the first one was Nyondo Hambwiha, Kunda Chisala as well, and also somebody who's following, just Joshua Kennedy Muhango, all the way from Nkema district. So remember, the effective audit process is not just about scrutinizing past performance, but also about paving the way for better practices and stronger policies moving forward. It's a continuous journey of learning and adaptation aimed at achieving excellence in public service. My name is Paulson Tendovi. We'll be back next week on Thursday at the same time. I'd like to thank our viewers and indeed not forgetting our listeners on our radio platform, and indeed you that have been following us on our Facebook page. God bless, and keep watching and listening to Parliament.
Zambia. Even saying the word is a multi-sensory experience. It somehow captures something of the essence of this special place in the warm heart of southern Africa. Take in the mighty Zambezi River, the majestic Victoria Falls that form Zambia's natural southern border, and the national parks overflowing with wildlife. Immerse yourself in the fast-growing towns and cities, teeming with history, light, and life. Then visit the vast lakes that seem to touch the stars and engage with the plethora of different ethnic groups, cultures, and languages. Together, they make up the intricately woven fabric of this remarkable country. To visit Zambia is to begin a love affair that will never be exhausted, and unlike any that you have ever experienced before. For all the superlatives that man has used in his attempts to describe Victoria Falls, none are able to do this incredible natural wonder justice. You have to see it for yourself. It is a truly awe-inspiring experience. Livingston, once Zambia's capital, and the Zambian side of the falls have become a mecca for discerning adventure tourists. Peer into the abyss from Devil's Pool at the edge of the falls. Career down the powerful rapids from Batoka Gorge in a whitewater raft. Bungee jump from the historic Victoria Falls Bridge. Or fly over the falls on a flight of angels. Whatever activity you choose, you will be left with a renewed appreciation for the sheer might of nature. Kafue National Park is amongst the biggest in Africa and is home to more than 130 species of mammal and more than 400 bird species. Enjoy the wildlife from a different perspective on a boat cruise or a canoeing or walking safari. For sheer density of game, South Luangwa National Park is second to none. It certainly lives up to its nickname as the Valley of the Leopard. The stunning Liuwa Plains play host to the world's second largest wildebeest migration and boast some of the most striking vistas you will see anywhere in Africa. At Kasanka National Park, you can view the largest mammal migration in the world when each November Literally millions of fruit bats cover the skyline as the sun sets. Zambia's bodies of water are as abundant as its wildlife. Although it is landlocked, this country has more water than any other in Africa. There are the long, meandering rivers, some of which are interspersed by waterfalls that are only narrowly surpassed by Vic Falls. Then there are the lakes, from the vast, remote Lake Tanganyika, far in the north of the country, which is one of Africa's Great Lakes, to Lake Kariba, Africa's biggest man-made dam. Kariba is an increasingly popular beach holiday destination that is strangely reminiscent of the French Riviera. Or for the best bath of your life, visit the incredible Kapisha Hot Springs. Another unique aspect of this remarkable country are the Zambians themselves. The country is home to 72 different ethnic groups and languages, all of whom have their own diverse cultural traits and traditions. One thing they do have in common: they are all unfailingly warm and welcoming. Zambians are famous for their very own special brand of hospitality, as well as the pride they take in their Zambian identity. Wherever you go in Zambia, you will meet people who will go out of their way to leave you with a positive impression and make you feel at home. So what are you waiting for? Book your trip now and enjoy the kind of African experience you've always dreamt of. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can always be sure to find it somewhere in Zambia. So let's explore.
My name is Honorable Dr. Christopher Kalila, MP, Member of Parliament for Lukulu East, Parliamentary Constituency. Lukulu East is in Western Province, approximately 700 to 750 kilometers westwards, and after Kaoma you go northwestwards. So Lukulu is one constituency and one district. According to the 2022 census of population, it's currently housing more than 96,000 inhabitants in terms of the population, and I must say that it's sparsely populated with roughly about 14 persons per square kilometer. So that's basically about the constituency. Most of the people suffer from chronic poverty, with poverty estimated somewhere around 85% of most of the people live below the poverty datum line. And also, according to the sub-national analysis report of 2019 from the Ministry of National Planning at the time, it is reported that extreme poverty stands at around 70%. So you can see that the main challenge obviously is chronic poverty in that constituency, being a typical rural constituency. So as a Member of Parliament there, I got elected in 2011 on the MMD ticket at the time, but I was not the first time to the National Assembly, having been there earlier as a nominated Member of Parliament from 2008 to 2011, and then in 2011 I contested the seat, and I've been in the National Assembly since then. So in short, I've been elected 3 times by the people of Lukulu, and then I've also been a nominated member once. So if you like, in the National Assembly, this is my 4th term, but in the constituency, it is my 3rd term. So I must say that I've been around for a while, and I wish to pay glowing tribute and gratitude to the people of Lukulu, who have always found me very useful to answer to the development challenges, to represent them here, to be able to participate in national political affairs at their behest. So I say thank you very much to them. Of course, in 2016 I made a switch from the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy and joined the United Party for National Development. So I've been a member of Parliament of the UPND a second time. I'm a family man, happily married to one wife, Nora, and we have 3 lovely children, 1 son and 2 daughters. Our youngest daughter is 17. She's just matriculated from Kapiri Technical Girls School with flying colors in all her 8 subjects. So basically, that is from my side as a family man. In terms of my professional and education background, I'm a medical doctor by profession, fully registered with the Medical Health and Professions Council, having graduated from the University of Zambia Medical School somewhere around 1993, did internship at the University Teaching Hospital, and left to join the private sector initially with Zambia State Insurance Corporation, who were running medical services at the time, and after that I went into private practice as a general practitioner on the Copper Belt until 2008, when I was called to National Affairs by the late President Rupia Banda as a nominated Member of Parliament and subsequently appointed as a Deputy Minister. I held 3 portfolios in that government, having Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, and after a year I was transferred to the Ministry of Works and Supply, again for another year, and subsequently to the Ministry of Health, where I was Deputy Minister to Honorable Kapemba Simbao until the elections of 2011. So basically, that is to sum up exactly my political journey as well as my family life and professional background. From the time that I took over as a Member of Parliament in Lukulu East, I think many people attest to the fact that we have made tremendous improvements to the living conditions of our people, especially in the education sector and also especially in the health sector. When I took over the constituency, I think we only had probably 3 or 4 secondary schools. Today we are sitting with 20 secondary schools, and we are only second to Mongu, which is, as you know, is the provincial capital, and very soon we intend to surpass Mongu because of the fact that we now have the Constituency Development Fund. When I took over, I think we had probably not more than 8